Hello and welcome to Dee's Media World. Today we'll be talking about episode 12 in the Inuyasha review series, The Soul Piper and the Mischievous Little Soul. So, right off the bat, this is one of the saddest episodes you'll ever see in Inuyasha. And if you haven't seen it before, I have the link to the episode in the description box, so watch it. This episode is this one really tugs at the heartstrings. Like, I could never watch this episode without tearing up a little bit. No, I've seen this episode probably 5 or 6 times, and it still gets me every time I see it. This episode, what's so great about it is that this is an episode, like, Inuyasha deals with all kinds of different things, spirits, demons, and, different types of powers, all that kind of stuff. But this is one of the, I feel like almost this episode is almost from a different type of show. Like, even it fits in this Inuyasha episode, but, like, you never really see this kind of thing being dealt with characters going to hell, possibly going to hell, or things like that. It's crazy. Like, I don't know, I don't remember the first time I saw this episode, but any time I see it, it just breaks my little heart. It's just a sad episode, but it's bittersweet, I think it is. Like, the entire point of this episode is essentially about forgiveness, and Mayu basically had to come to the point of forgiving her mother, because if she doesn't forgive her, she basically will go to hell. I mean, that's the extreme version of what most people probably think when it comes to, like, heaven and hell and what you have to do to get there. But that is a principle, which is forgiveness. And this whole episode is just awesome. Like, it has its comedic points, of course, like most Inuyasha episodes do, but it does take a serious tone. The Soul Piper itself is very interesting. I think it's a spirit. They say demon, but I think it's more like a spirit, because you can't actually, it's not something you can kill. Like, it's almost like its existence is not known to everyone. Like, not everyone knows it exists, and it's this spirit demon, I guess, that its whole purpose is basically to keep the children who have died happy until they can move on to the next world. And until then, that he plays, I guess it's he plays the flute. However, at the same time, while he also is meant to keep children happy, if a child is basically bitter, angry, and is acting out to a certain degree, his eyes will slowly open. I don't know who came up with that idea. I don't know if that's a myth already in Japanese culture or something, but the idea of this demon is excellent. Because it's so, it has the ability to be creepy, like really scary looking, but also calming, and when he opens his eyes all the way, it is just, but no, his presence alone is disturbing. When we first see him, he's actually in the feudal era with Inuyasha and Mayu and stuff, and they see him just passing by. But when we see him in Kagome's world, it is just creepy. He shows up like, just the way he shows up creeps me out, but in a good way. Like, I love that it kind of creeps me out, because he's watching her. He's watching her behavior. He's watching Mayu's behavior, and when he slowly is opening his gigantic eyes, it's so creepy, but so good too. Like, they really got that down. Like, he can be, you could tell he could be a kind demon who doesn't even have to talk or make noise, really. I mean, he makes noise a little bit, but it's just an excellent, really awesome idea. It actually kind of reminds me of Avatar: The Last Airbender a little bit. Obviously, Inuyasha came out before, but I feel like almost that show would be more likely to have something like this. But in any case, this whole episode is just, the whole thing with Mayu and her mom, I love that relationship, because so many, everyone has different types of relationship with their parents, but she has more of a typical, she's a child, and that's kind of why it works so well. It's because she's a, I guess, 10-year-old, something between 8 and 10-year-old child, so she's immature, she's angry that she died, even though it was her own fault that she died, which you find out later on, and she hates her mother, and she's jealous of her younger brother who gets all the attention, which are things that siblings kind of go through. So she's mad at him, but she's really mad at her mom, but ultimately she learns that it really was her own fault, and that she does love her mother, but she's bitter about her death, even though it was her own fault. And that's sad. That's sad that she's a kid. That makes it sad. It's sad that she unintentionally killed herself. That she thought her mother didn't want her. She thought her mother didn't want to save her. That was essentially why she was so angry. and kind of how the misunderstanding a kid would have about their own mom, which is really sad but touching and relatable. This is definitely easily one of my favorite episodes of Inuyasha, period. And at the end of after I watch all episodes, including the final act, I'm gonna do a top favorite list of episodes. I don't know the number yet. I might do 15, I might do 20. There's so many episodes of Inuyasha. It's like I said, 193 in total. Doing 10 would pretty much be really challenging. So I'm thinking maybe 17 or something like that. But this would, just FYI, this definitely would be somewhere on the list. I won't hint you guys for any of my other top favorites, but this whole episode is just perfection. If I had to show someone an episode of Inuyasha and it wasn't like an episode you actually have to see all the other episodes to get, I would definitely show them this one, because even like this is an episode, the jewel shards aren't mentioned at all. I mean, we kind of see Shippo and Mayoga. There's a little bit of reference to the Thunder Brother episode a couple episodes ago when Inuyasha almost broke his sheath in half. But it's besides those things, you can actually see this episode without actually watching the entire show, and I feel that it will still touch people either way. Overall, I said what I love about it. I like the idea that Kagome kind of had to save the day here. She was kind of not all on her own. Like, Inuyasha saves the little boy from getting killed, and he takes Kagome to the place where the girl died. But other than that, Kagome kind of initiated this. This goes back to what's great about Kagome is her bravery. She's not worried about herself. She's not worried that she might get dragged to hell. She's worried that this girl will be dragged to hell and stuff like that. The Soul Piper is such a memorable character as well. Even though he doesn't say a word, all he does is show up like a couple times and just it's haunting. It's haunting. I don't even know how to describe it other than that. The little brother knows that Mayu actually was hiding in the closet. He's been in a coma for 6 months. Mayu, out of jealousy from her brother, is hurting him, and she has kind of a way of. Kagome's the only one who, I think she's the only one. No, I think Mayu's mother could see her. No, I don't think she saw her. I don't know. It's Kagome, I guess, is the only one who could see her, but there's just sort of this idea Kagome can see, what other people can't see. So I'm assuming Kaede could see her if Kaede was in this world, I guess. But overall, I absolutely love this episode. There's pretty much nothing wrong with it. Even Inuyasha himself, he's not in the episode that much, but he still has his input, and he makes a good point. He tells Kagome, I couldn't have saved you this time if something had happened. She could have dragged you to hell, but you can't be doing stuff like that. This isn't like a normal demon. This isn't something I can slay. This is a totally different category of what's going on. And I had to agree with him, but at the same time, I agree with Kagome's method and her bravery to decide to do what she had done, which is to help Mayu out. And Mayu's story is really sad, relatable, but also incredibly touching. This episode is just the definition. This is, to me, probably the most touching, one of top 5 most touching episodes of Inuyasha for sure. It's so, and it's funny, it's a filler episode too. Like, it's not an episode you have to see to understand what's going on in the show. You don't have to see this episode, to know about whatever. Like, this is just, they just made this episode. I feel like the creator or whoever wrote this episode was like, I have an idea for a great episode, and it might not have anything exactly to do with what's going on with like them finding jewel shards or whatever, but here's something that's really great. Because most episodes set in Kagome's time period are kind of goofy, especially after this. The Inuyasha Wiki has said, like, yeah, after like this episode, the episodes set in Kagome's world are usually like funnier, comical kind of episodes, and that's fine with me. But I'm also glad they really did this. This was kind of taking a chance, and it really paid off. So I'm really loving this episode. What do you guys think of the episode? You think it's a great episode to make you tear up inside watching it? I love it. I don't think I have anything else to say. I'm glad things worked out, but it worked out in the right way. It worked like in a cheesier show, a much cheesier show. Maybe Mayu would have lived. Like after she forgave her mom, she would have came back to life or something like that. But no, Inuyasha deals with reality most of the time to some degree. So of course Mayu's still dead, but she is able to move on to the next path of forgiveness, which I absolutely love. I think if they had done that, that would have made the whole that would have made the episode terrible. It wouldn't have worked out for me. But because